They were nearly the last Japanese company to get into the motorcycle business. A giant corporation that already knew how to build huge ships that sailed around the world. Bullet trains that can go 170 miles an hour. And parts for jet airplanes. Kawasaki had a long-standing reputation of building big, powerful engines. So when the company decided to create a motorcycle, their engineers faced a challenge: how to use their expertise to create powerful engines small enough to fit into a bike. They turned the world of motorcycle engineering upside down, creating some of the most revolutionary designs ever produced. Just to make sure they got everyone's attention, they painted their bikes an unusual color, lime green.
Beautiful looking green color we run, you know. That's a trademark thing of Kawasaki.
A trademark reinforced by a single word: ninja.
If you tell somebody you have a Ninja, they know exactly what you're on. You're on a Kawasaki sport bike.
After so much success with ships and trains and jumbo jets, why did Kawasaki get into the motorcycle business? And even with all their engineering might, could they really challenge the older, more established brands? Although its recorded history dates all the way back to 201, Kobe is one of Japan's most modern cities. Kobe is home to more than 100 international corporations, including Procter & Gamble and Nestle. It is also home to a company that had been in business for almost 80 years before it ever thought about building a motorcycle. Kobe, Japan is world headquarters for Kawasaki Heavy Industries. Kawasaki Heavy Industries was founded by a man named Shozo Kawasaki in 1878. It began as a shipbuilding company. Shozo Kawasaki was one of the first in Japan to use Western designs for his ships. His company prospered, and over the years, it became one of the world's manufacturing giants, building not only ships, but trains, industrial equipment, and parts for cars and airplanes. In one way or another, a Kawasaki product probably touches your life every day. But hardly anyone knew the Kawasaki name. To build brand awareness, the company started building motorcycles in 1955. It was a way to embrace the growing popularity of motorcycles in the U.S. A new building in Kobe celebrates Kawasaki's history in shipbuilding and in motorcycles. In a clear reference to both American music and pop culture, the motorcycle part of the building is called Kawasaki Good Times World.
Now we are in Kobe, Kawasaki Motorcycle Museum, which official name is Kawasaki Good Times World.
Kawasaki was third of the Japanese Big Four, including Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, to make a motorcycle. But they had a secret weapon, a skill in engineering that would make them stand out. Kawasaki assigned engineers from its aircraft division to build its first motorcycles. And from 1955 to 1965, they created a variety of bikes. But none was special. None addressed the real mission assigned to Kawasaki's motorcycle engineers. That mission was to develop completely new technologies for a breakthrough design. A motorcycle that would turn the motorcycle world upside down. In 1968, what started out as an engineering exercise became a real motorcycle called the Mach 3. Two teams of Kawasaki engineers were pitted against each other. One team would develop a traditional two-cylinder engine, but the second team built something never tried before, a 500cc engine with 3 cylinders. It was a revolutionary design, but the result was classic Kawasaki, an engine producing massive amounts of power. Until the Mach 3, no Japanese company had ever designed a motorcycle with 3 cylinders. Kawasaki did it to get more horsepower. At first, the 3-cylinder experiment was a failure. The middle cylinder kept overheating and the engine kept blowing up, but the engineering team kept trying. Finally, they had the idea of adding extra large cooling fins to the engine. It worked. Their engine went from experiment to production. It took an entire year to solve the engineering challenges of a 3-cylinder engine, but the result was worth it. When the Mach 3 went on sale in 1969, it was the most powerful production motorcycle in the world.
My dad took me up to the local high school on the back of his Mach 3. He said, go sit on that curb right there, and he did wheelies by me on his Mach 3 all the way down the parking lot, and that'll stick with me forever. Those things ran hard, super, super fun to ride. That Mach 3 was a 3-cylinder 500 followed up with a 3-cylinder 750 two-stroke, and they were rocket ships.
Actually, it outperformed every motorcycle existed at that time. So this Mach 3 made Kawasaki famous.
But Kawasaki would need more than just the Mach 3 if it wanted to take on Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Kawasaki would need a long-term strategy. That strategy was simple. If one engineering exercise could revolutionize the motorcycle world, then what they needed to do was keep the revolution going. Just 3 years after producing the Mach 3, Kawasaki unveiled another design breakthrough, a new bike called the Z1 with a larger 900cc engine.
The Z1, the 900, was amazing. You know, that bike made a huge impression and really established Kawasaki as a performance force.
The Z1 was sporty, but sporty isn't enough. Was the Z1 engineered well enough to win where it really mattered? Could it win on the racetrack? There's an old saying in the motorcycle world, race on Sunday, sell on Monday. In the late 1970s, a British rider named Reg Pridmore was racing the Kawasaki Z1.
The thing about racing, Kawasaki, looking at that going, some publicity to be had. And I don't care what anybody says, racing sells bikes. Yeah, racing sells.
With Pridmore on board, Kawasaki pulled ahead in its race to catch up with the competition. And it did it on racetracks in America, where Pridmore and the Z1 were almost unbeatable.
It was a great bike. I loved the power because now I could go fast without having to struggle too hard for it. And I did quite well on that one.
Kawasaki became the first Japanese motorcycle brand to win the American Motorcycle Association Championship. With Reg Pridmore on board the Z1, Kawasaki took the title 2 years in a row, 1977 and 1978.
Wow, that was just like riding a bike that you've known for many, many years. But in actual fact, you know, we had good brakes, we had good power.
Pridmore's success on the track was a key for increasing Kawasaki sales, especially in the United States.
Z1 used disc brake for the first time in Kawasaki. It's a huge one compared to standard size at that time.
The Z1 needed good brakes. The bike you could buy off the showroom floor had a top speed of 125 miles an hour.
It created some standard, not only in Kawasaki, but motorcycle industries worldwide, what super sport should be.
Kawasaki, the company that started next to last in terms of making motorcycles, was catching up fast. It created the Mach 3 in 1969, the Z1 in 1972, and then won 2 championships in the late 70s. But could Kawasaki go for the jugular and totally redefine what the modern sport bike should be? The answer would come only 1 year later, in September of 1980. Management in Japan released a new bike they called the Z900R. But Kawasaki's American staff in Southern California thought they had a better idea. They wanted the new bike to be called the Ninja.
Kawasaki Motors Corporation in the United States, they invented their Ninja name because at that time Ninja was a Superman.
Boy, the crazy boys down at Kawasaki USA found that name, and there's some crazy guys down there at that time, and they came up with that Ninja name that really stuck.
They loved the Ninja name back at Kawasaki headquarters in Japan. It struck a balance between what would sell in America and the clearly Japanese design philosophy used in creating the bike. The philosophy that shapes can have both positive and negative qualities.
This is a bike is a positive, negative is combinations. And then we are making the positive and negatives and the shadows making with my design philosophies. And then sexy.
In addition to their distinctive design philosophy, Kawasaki used a unique color to stand out: lime green. And the reason why is as unusual as the color itself. In the late 60s, green was considered bad luck on a racetrack. But Kawasaki put its faith in engineering, not superstition. Mixing 9 parts yellow with 1 part blue, it created what it called a color of defiance. The lime green color was an attempt to psych out the competition.
Well, everybody knows what makes a Kawasaki, and that's that beautiful looking green color we run, you know. That's a trademark thing of Kawasaki.
The original Ninja was another marvel of Kawasaki engineering, stringing together a long list of firsts. It was a completely new design. The engine more compact, the first Kawasaki with a water-cooled motor.
Here was a bike that had, you know, a racing level suspension and engine performance, and even a kind of a racer's crouch to the seating position. You know, there hadn't really been anything like it before.
The first real sport bike from the Japanese. It had the correct ride heights. It had red wheels. It had the short handlebars. It was just a tight little package, and it was the first purposeful sport bike that I remember coming out.
The first Ninja was also the first Kawasaki motorcycle to use a computerized ignition system. It may sound simple now, but in the early 80s, controlling the air and fuel mixture in the engine by a computer was a major advancement in the motorcycle world.
The significant motorcycle Kawasaki has ever made.
So significant that the name Ninja has become virtually synonymous with the word sport bike. In 1990, Kawasaki's engineering breakthroughs led to another new design. The ZX-11 pushed motorcycle engine development even further. And it did it by using an old American hot rodder trick. Force more air into an engine, and you get more horsepower.
In 1990, this year is very important because Kawasaki introduced this ZX-11, which is the first Ninja with ram-aired engines. It's the first ram-aired motorcycle in the world.
Ram air is a remarkably simple concept. The faster the motorcycle goes, the more air that's rammed into the engine. A simple concept turned into a masterpiece of motorcycle engineering.
The faster the motorcycle goes, the more powerful the engine will become.
In 2006, Kawasaki engineers pushed the Ninja name into yet another category of motorcycles. This time, their target is to build the fastest street-legal motorcycle ever made. How do you create the fastest street-legal motorcycle ever built? Kawasaki engineers decided the answer is size. They created a monster-sized Ninja called the ZX-14. The ZX-14 has a 1.4-liter engine. That's a huge engine for a motorcycle and as big as engines used in many cars. In fact, the ZX-14 is faster than virtually any car on the road.
The 1400, the concept of the motorcycle is the king of open road. At first, we developed the engine for very fast acceleration in the road.
ZX-14, basically ultimate GT bike, you know.
Once again, going from concept to reality would be a major engineering challenge. For one thing, the ZX-14 design team had to develop an entirely new and much stronger frame because the bike's new engine cranks out nearly 200 horsepower.
The chassis is really the main part of the motorcycle. After you test the engine, you have to test the chassis to make sure it's strong enough to handle all the power.
It's a whole lot of motor in a capable chassis. Those kind of bikes are their own experience. You know, a big, long, fast GT is its own thing, but boy, I mean, on the right roads and in the right setting, there's nothing like it. I mean, beautifully smooth handling bike, and then you come to a corner, roll it on, and just, it's so there, you know?
This is where Kawasaki builds the ZX-14 and all its other motorcycles. The Kawasaki Motorcycle Factory at the company's enormous Akashi Works, a giant industrial complex just west of Kobe, Japan.
This is our final assembly line's parts receiving dock.
Why is a receiving dock an important part of the process? Efficiency. Kawasaki doesn't have to repeatedly move parts in and out of the warehouse because they use what's called a just-in-time inventory system. Parts for each bike are delivered to the final assembly lines just a few hours before they're needed.
After we receive the parts, our people deliver the parts to the assembly line directly. But some medium-sized or big-sized parts, we keep a couple of hours in this area. And delivering people deliver the medium parts and big parts to the line every 2 hours.
Smaller parts are placed into computer-coded containers that will arrive at precisely the right place in the factory at precisely the right time.
So our people just pull the cart to the line. So not necessary to handling 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
At Kawasaki, the classic Japanese manufacturing philosophy of efficiency is taken a giant step further. While people are building machines, other machines are watching the people. Kawasaki has what it calls a human error-proof system. A system that begins with a collection of card-activated drawers and lights to make sure the right parts are being used for each bike.
This is a human error-proof system. This is a sample. Each hanger has this kind of electrical data carrier. So, for example, I'm some areas operator. Motorcycle pass through model A. So model A parts come. So I pick up the parts and assemble. Next model, the model C, it's come through. Parts C1 come, so I pick up and assemble. But if I miss to pick up and next model B come, it's alarm. Assembly line, stop. Supervisor know something wrong happened on the line. So this kind of system, we applied many stations. Very important place.
There are multiple different human error-proof systems throughout the factory, starting with each bare chassis as it begins its trip down the assembly line.
After share system, he picked up the wire harness from the right position. How can he know the right position? The light is turned on, so he may not miss to pick up. We have many specifications of the harness, so this is very important to pick up the parts, the right part to the right chassis.
Preventing mistakes in the factory is such an important concept that every new Kawasaki employee, regardless of what job they're hired to do anywhere in the company, is required to spend their first 3 months working in the factory. They're called freshmen.
3-month freshman hired by an engineer or staff come on the line. For example, that the engineer experience of the line is good for future business.
It's good for business because the fundamental lesson all freshmen learn is that Kawasaki is obsessed with avoiding mistakes in the factory.
We run many kinds of models on the line, so operator need to know what torque range is good for this model. So our electrical indication system shows the operator by lighting the red light. So operator pick up the right torque range and use it. If operator use wrong torque range, conveyor assembly line will be stopped.
Kawasaki encourages every worker to take an active role in quality control. Any worker can stop the entire assembly line if they think there's a problem.
Quality control, second step. When operator finds out any quality problem or operator's operation delayed, anytime he can call, switch button, then number line turn on. We ask all operator, whenever he has problem, don't hesitate to stop the line.
On average, the assembly line stops for 3 to 5 minutes every hour.
Total downtime of this line from the morning by now. So today, this line stop is about 3 minutes per hour. I guess good condition today.
There are 2 different assembly lines for each motorcycle being built. The first one is the sub-assembly line, where individual components from outside vendors are put together.
This exhaust system comes outside from vendor. We set necessary parts, for example, gasket, and assemble here. The next question is important. It's swinging arm sub-assemble and assemble to the line. This is a chain assemble to the swinging arm. This is the final station of the sub-assembly line. We receive the front forks from the outside vendor by the order of our assembly line order. So after assemble the front fork to the unit, we assemble the front fender and front foils.
Overhead conveyor belts move what look like mechanical skeletons to the final assembly line. In a matter of minutes, they will emerge at the other end, finished motorcycles, ready to roar.
The first step of the main assembly line is to put a handlebar or this kind of small stops. Here we assemble the fairing. This is the middle area of the main assembly line. This is the final station of the line. The final operator check defect parts, and if there is no defect, he carry to the final inspection line.
The last stop in the factory is the final inspection area. First, workers visually inspect each bike. They fire up the engine for the first time, letting it warm up before the very last step, the power test. The barcode for each bike tells the power test computer what program to run. It also records all the test results. If your bike broke down 3 years after it was built, the factory could go back and pull up its barcode, specifications, and test results. It's like a motorcycle with a medical record. In another part of the factory, the new world of high tech meets the old world of tradition. Every time Kawasaki engineers create a new engine design, they stop to celebrate their work with what they call a new engine starting ceremony. Japan is made up of 4 major islands, which all together are slightly smaller than the state of California. Tokyo is the de facto capital of Japan. There's actually no legal definition for Tokyo's status as the capital of the country, but it is home to both the Japanese government as well as the royal family, and has in fact been considered Japan's capital city since 1868. When most Westerners travel to Japan, they go to Tokyo, a megacity with 35 million people and the largest gross domestic product of any metropolitan area in the world. Few Westerners ever see the southernmost island in Japan. It's called Kyushu, and it's widely regarded as the birthplace of Japanese civilization. Kyushu is considered a very spiritual place. Kyushu is extremely mountainous and home to one of Japan's most active volcanoes. Sitting on one side of the volcano is one of the best, most challenging racetracks in the world. But few people even know its name. It is called Autopolis, and it takes a full day to get there from Tokyo.
Autopolis was what an amazing facility. It was just, it's very far away from anything. You're kind of out in the woods.
It is an hour and 45-minute flight from Tokyo to Kyushu, but it's like taking a trip back in time. From the neon signs of Tokyo to a very different, rural-looking Japan. After arriving at the airport on Kyushu, the next step is a long bus ride up a narrow mountain road to the track.
We took a long, long bus ride. You go on these winding mountain roads through all these little forests and everything, and then here's this huge, beautiful facility.
Kawasaki introduced the new Ninja ZX6R to Autopolis. It was the first time Western journalists had ever been invited to ride at the track.
Riding at Autopolis was, it's a magnificent track. There's such a neat variety of corners, and the grip was quite good.
All the different Ninja models feel remarkably at home at Autopolis, including the ZX14, the biggest, baddest Ninja of them all.
We had a ZX14 on the track, which was a scream. I mean, it's a big, fast bike, and you kind of tiptoe through the corners and pull the trigger. Really nice long front straight and a lot of fun. Beautiful setting, too.
The front straight of Topolis is just part of the 2.9-mile circuit that has 13 different corners. Topolis is the only track in the world built on the side of an old volcano. It sits in the mountains 3,000 feet above sea level. And riding the roller coaster is the experience of a lifetime.
Firing down the hill, a lot of speed, and then you come to a right. And that right-hand corner, it's, it's so deceptive. You have a catalog of corners that you've seen, and you sort of try to apply what you've learned about turns to these turns. And that's the kind of corner where you look at it and you go, oh, well, I got to slow down. Well, no, don't slow down, because you don't have to, because you get driven into the pavement, which increases the grip, and you could just go so fast through there. When we were at the track, the ZX14 would come by, and it sounded like a jet. I mean, it just was it's just crushing air, it's a little bit bigger and makes so much power, and it would just come by and it was pretty awesome.
Few Westerners ever get a chance to ride at Topolis. Most of the time, the track is used by factory test riders, pushing new bikes to the limit. The motorcycle industry is a highly competitive business, and while Kawasaki would let one of their test riders describe a high-speed lap around Topolis, they didn't want his face or name to be made public.
After you leave the first corner, you see the second corner. The second corner is the most exciting corner on the course. The next corner determines who will win or lose the race. Braking is very, very important in this corner. So if you brake correctly, you can really open the throttle when you exit.
Topolis is a very challenging track. Especially if you're riding the ZX14, a motorcycle with nearly 200 horsepower.
Kawasaki ZX14 is an expert's bike. The thing is so fast that novices will get in trouble. A little twist on the throttle, the thing's going 100 miles an hour. So you gotta have your brain ready for that thing. It accelerates so hard. The nice thing about the ZX14 and bikes like that have a lot of motor, nowadays, they also stop and turn pretty well.
The ZX14 is all about power. The lime green ZX6R Ninja has a smaller engine. The bike is lighter. It is a motorcycle built to carve corners.
You look at that 6R and you can see how nimble it is. You can see how light it is. Kawasaki's done a great job to get the weight out of it.
The newest Kawasaki ZX6R is the first total redesign of the bike in nearly 10 years and boasts a brand new engine.
It does so many things well. It'll stop, it'll turn in, it'll avoid gravel, it'll do all the things you need to do, yet it's got enough punch to take it out and win a national supersport championship on it. So that's a pretty well-rounded motorcycle right there.
Even though the Japanese are known for their efficiency and engineering, the The ZX6R is a prime example of Kawasaki's unique passion and artistry.
This is, I think, is a motorcycle designs. Art, just art.
An art form that attacks your senses as hard as it attacks the road.
When you open the throttle, you feel like you've left your brain at the starting line.
Kawasaki is such a big company, and you know the Japanese sort of have this reputation, I think undeserved. Everyone says, well, you know, the Italians, well, they build bikes with passion, etc., and as if Japanese bikes aren't built by people and there is no passion.
From its unique engine starting ceremony to the christening of ships 100 years ago, Kawasaki has always had passion. The next to last Japanese company to get into the motorcycle business, Kawasaki puts its reputation on the line. It took chances and created an atmosphere where engineers and designers were encouraged to experiment. They do things differently at Kawasaki. They always have, and perhaps they always will. From the first Mach 3 to the newest Ninja painted in classic lime green, Kawasaki is a company that's always full of surprises. A company that has always used its engineering expertise to answer the questions others weren't even asking.